Hey, today's Bezos Hashem. Today's daf is Masechta Bava Basra Daf Samach Tes, and we're going to start from the Mishnah on Daf Samach Chesam and Beis. Okay, here we go. The Mishnah begins. Hamoiches Asada. Someone sells a field. Mocha. So you sold a field. So what's included in the sale? Mocha Savonim Shein L'Tzarka. They're special. You sold the stones that are use in the field. They're special, dignified, stones that are unique for this field. And I'll explain, the Gemara can explain what the use of those stones. And if you sold a field and inside the field there is a kerem, there is a vineyard. Hi, Alan, we just began. And we're discussing over here in the Mishnah what is included in the sale of a field. So the Mishnah said that if you sold a field, you included all its materials, even stones that are in the field that are unique for this field, special stones that are used as, so we're going to see what they're used for, but basically they're used like as paperweights. And you're also selling the reeds for the vineyard that's in this field that help hold up, I guess, the vines. Let's see if I have a picture over here. Here you see it over here. You have special sticks that hold up the vine tree. Okay, I'm going to have pictures coming up. And tvua and wheat, let's say, that is connected to the ground. That if you sold a field, it includes anything that's not yet harvested. And you have a cluster of reeds that take off less than a roiva, which is 10.5 amas, I guess. You have a cluster of reeds somehow growing. That's not considered to be something special, and it's included in the sale. We're going to see things that are unique and special. They're not included in the sale of the field. Vesashamera and the watchtower, she'ein asui betit. That's the watchman's place, which is was not clayed. It didn't have clay in it, so it looks like a temporary structure. So that's not included in the sale. That's included in the sale. And the carob tree that you're not using, that you didn't graft other branches to it, or a young sycamore tree. A carob tree and a sycamore tree are such unique trees that even if you sold a field, they're not included in the sale. But if it's a very young carob tree, a very young sycamore tree, they are included in the sale. Aval, but, says the Mishnah, when you sell a field, you don't include in the sale stones that have nothing to do with the field. Let's say you have this big, huge stone that you sit on, relax on. That's not included in the sale. And reeds in the vineyard, that's in the vines that are not needed for the vines. And of course, if you have tvua in the field, that wheat that's in the field that's not connected to the ground, it's not part of the sale. We've seen this over and over again. If you explicitly say that I'm selling my field with everything that's inside of it, everything is sold within the field. No matter what, even if you sell a field and you say everything is included in the sale, the following things are not included in the sale. If you have an area that's growing reeds that takes up a base roiva, so if it takes up, like this picture over here, if it's an area that takes up a base roiva and it's growing special type of reeds, or a full sycamore tree, or a mature carob tree, or let's say like the watchtower, the watch hut that is clayed, so it's more of a permanent structure, as you can see in this picture over here. Those are not included in the field because they're not a field thing. They have different uses, and therefore they're not part of the sale. Even if you said, I'm selling my field and everything that's inside of the field, this is excluded from the sale. Now the top of Daf Samach Tes Amud Aleph. So you said in the Mishnah that what is included when you sell a field? Stones that are needed in the field. What stones are needed in the field? In Bava, they translated it to mean avnei da'achba. These heavyweight stones that are used to put on bundles that you just harvested so that they don't fly away in the wind. So they're like paperweights. Ula says, Avarim Hasduris Legader, that these refers to stones that are organized for a future building of a fence. So if you have those stones there in the field, they are included in the sale of the field. Says the Gemara, Rab Chia taught Avonim Tzevuris Legader, that stones that are just dumped there for a fence are considered part of the sale. And why do you say suduris? It has to be organized. So the Gemara says Tani suduris. You have to change Rab Chia's words. Rab Chia only said that if the stones are dumped there, they're not included in the field. But if they're suduris, they're organized in such a way that, all you got to do is take them and make a fence, only then they are included in the sale. Hacha tagimoy avna dachasma. If you translate it to be stones, the paperweight stones, the Rab Meir in the Gemara is going to try to say there's later on. Rab Meir is very lenient in what is included in a sale. When it comes to selling a vineyard, he says, Rab Meir says, everything that helps the vine is included in the sale. So since Rab Meir is very lenient, so Rab Meir would say that these paperweight stones, I'm using their weight stones put on sheaves, the metaknan, if they have to be ready to put on, they're fixed, they're cut in a certain way to put on a sheave, even if they're not in the field, they're part of the sale. Rabbanan, who are very more stricter than Rab Meir, they require the machtan. Not only it has to be the stone has to be in the field in order to be included in the sale. Ulu Amar, and Ulu, who explained this, the stones that the Mishnah is referring to, is Avonim Hasturis Legada, the stones that are organized to make a fence. The Rab Meir, according to Rab Meir, means the metaknon afagav lo sadram. They have to be ready-made stones that you could make a fence, even if the pile is not so organized. The Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, who the sadran, according to Rabbanan, you need it that they have to be organized, ready to build. If they're just cut into the right size, but they're not in an organized way so that you could easily build a fence, they're not included in the sale. Where in what way do reeds help a vine? Amrei, Rabbi Yana explains, this is the picture. You have smooth sticks or sticks that you put under a vine to hold up the vine tree. So that is included in the sale, those sticks. And even according to Rab Meir, who's more lenient, even if the stick is not holding up the vine, if it's lying flat on the floor, like you can see, that's going to be included into the sale. But according to Rabbanan, it has to be actually pinned, it has to be set into the ground, holding up the tree. That's what it says. So that's not a Meir. According to a Meir, and it's smoothed out if it's not set in place. Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, who the moikman, it has to be set in its place. And tvua that it's connected to the ground is considered to be what? Part of the sale of a field. Sell a field, the wheat that's connected to the ground is considered part of the sale. What's the novelty of that? Even though you're ready to cut and harvest this wheat, still it's included in sale because when you sold the field, these wheat were connected to the ground. If you have just a bunch of reeds growing there that don't take up a lot of space, even if they're strong reeds, still, since they take up very little space, they are considered to be part of the sale. If it's a watchtower, a watch hut that's not clayed, even though it's not part of the ground. Let's say it's like a movable sukkah. So you would think it's not included of the sale of the field because it's something that's detachable and easily moved around. The Mishnah says that's included in the sale of the field. Young carob trees and young sycamore trees, they're included in the sale. Even though they're strong trees, let's say it's a young tree that's so super strong, you would think that no, that's not included in the sale of the field because because it's a special tree. So the Mishnah teaches you that it is included in the sale of the tree. Now the Gemara goes and explains the other half. Avaloi mocha as avonim shein sarka. You didn't sell the stones that have nothing to do with the field. L'Rab Meir, according to Rab Meir, what does it mean? Stones the loy metaknam. You didn't even finish them off so that they can be used in part of the field. Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, the loy machtan. It means even if you did finish them off, but if they're not placed in the field, they're not included in the sale. In order for a stone that's used as a tool, as a functioning tool for the field, it has to be placed in the field in order to be included in the sale. Otherwise, it's not. According to Ula, who said Avaram Hasduris Lagader, that it has to be stones that are set up to make a fence. Rameir, according to Rameir, the loy metakna. Rameir is always, even if you didn't make the stones perfect yet, they're still included into the sale. The Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, even if you made the stones perfect, worthy of buildable stones, but as long as the loy sadron, you didn't organize it so that you can build with it, that's not included as part of the sale. According to Rameir, it means you didn't smooth it out. You didn't make it a smooth. You didn't make it a smooth stick. That's not included in the sale. The Rabbanan, what it means is the loy moikman. Even if you made it into a nice stick, but as long as you didn't set it into the ground, according to Rabbanan, that's not included in the sale. And not wheat that's disconnected from the ground, even though it needs the ground. In other words, maybe you still need it to the tvua that's disconnected after you disconnect it, so that it should like dry out in the field. Still, it's not included in the sale. Says the Gemara, if you have a cluster of reeds growing in a field that takes up a lot of space, even though it's small reeds, still it's considered like a separate field for itself. So sometimes you could have a field and you're selling the field, but there could be a little part of that field that's considered a separate entity that's not included in the sale. Amar Rab Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Lo yichitzas akon b'bad, ela afila aruga getana shabasamim v'yesh lo shein b'fnei asmai." Even if you have a small patch of spices that has a name for itself, it's not included in the sale. If you have a little special place in your field that's used for besamim, it's not considered to be sold with the field. Amara Papa, because it's a unique part of the field. How could it be included in the sale? Amara Papa v'hu dekarale vari de planya. If in this field you call it the rose place, my rose place of the field, so you're selling the field, but you're not including the area that you're growing roses there. So therefore, that's not included in the sale. If you have a watch hut that's you clayed it down, even if you connected it to the ground, as you can see in this picture over here, you connected it to the ground. Still, it's not included in the sale of the field because it's a separate entity. It's like a house. You're selling the field, but not a house. By Rab Laza says, so let's just take a look at the picture over here. If you have a malben is a frame, and if you put it around a door, right? Around a door, is that included in a sale? Let's see. We're not talking about a field over here, but let's see. The frame is like a decoration. So, malben shabsachim, a frame around a door. Mahu. If the frame is connected to the door with cement, certainly it's concluded in the sale of the house because because it's connected, it's cemented in. My question is, the nikita besiche, you nailed it to the door. Like you put nails there, and you could easily, here you see in the picture, you put nails there, so you can easily take off the nails and remove the frame easily. Mao, what would be the din? Is that included in the sale or not? Teku, the Gemara remains by a question. By Rab Zera had a question. Mal b'nei shachalonis, you have these frames around the window. Maho, mi amrin, do you say l'noi ba'al mahu de'abidi? It's made for beautification, and therefore it's not part of the sale. You're just selling the window, but not the frame. Dilma, even the mechabri, since it's connected to the window, mechabre, take it. That's another question. Boyer Amir Rabbi had a question. Malbinoi Shalkari Amitumahu. You have I guess the posts, the bricks that go under the post of the bed, as you can see in this picture. So what is that? Is that included it's like a thing that holds up the bed and makes it even higher? So is that included in the sale of a bed? If you move the bed and this is connected to it, that's not a question. Of course, it's connected. The hamitaltali, because it's moved along with the bed, so obviously it's part of the bed. My question is, it's not moved with the bed. You bought it separately on Amazon, and you put it underneath the post of the bed, of the leg of the bed. Mao, is it sold with the bed or not? Teku, the Gemara remains with a question. A mature carob tree, which is a special type of tree, or a sycamore tree, is not included in the sale. We go to Amud Beis. How do I know that? Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, the Amakra, because the pasuk says, "Vayakam stay Ephraim Hashem b'machpelah, v'chol gvulay saviv." So the field, Avram Avinu bought the field of Ephraim and anything that was within its boundaries. So anything, what's included in when you're buying a field, misha tzarich legvul saviv, only if the boundaries define the field. Yatsu elu, a special sycamore tree, or the special type of carob tree, they're so unique that it's not the boundary that defines that tree. You just look from afar and you see a tree, it looks like a separate entity. It doesn't need its boundary. So it looks like a separate entity, so it's like not part of the field. Rashbam gives an example. If a person sells 3 fields, and he sells the 3 fields, and he sells there 3 in a row, and he sells the outer field, and then he says anything I sell inside of it is considered. Of course, he didn't sell the middle field because it's a separate field. It's not part of the sale. So also over here, the sycamore tree and the carob tree are so unique that it's not the boundary that defines the tree. It's the tree itself has its own entity, and therefore it's not included in the sale. Omer Rav Sharshia says, "Mikan limitzora min Torah." From here, you learn the Torah says saviv, that whatever is in the boundary of the field around is included in the sale. So if a person had trees in the boundary of the field and you bought a field, you're including the trees that are on the boundaries. Like, you have a boundary that separates you from your neighbor, and you have these nice pine trees, they're included in the sale. Zog Gemara, and this will be the final piece we're going to learn. Amar Rav Yehuda is taught, if you're selling a piece of land to your friend, you have to say that I'm selling you the field and all the palm trees that are in the field. All the palm trees, the big ones and the small ones and the tiny ones, are included in the sale. Now, it should be obvious when you're selling a field, you're selling these palm trees, because palm trees is not such an important type of tree. So obviously it should be included in the sale. But you should write it anyway, and that's the piece of advice that Rav Yehuda gives. Even if you didn't write this, Connie, the purchaser would still acquire those palm trees. Nevertheless, I'm advising you to write that in the contract, shufur d'shtarihi, to make the document a better document, because sometimes you bring the document into a bezdin that's not so familiar in languages, and they may not award the purchaser the trees, so because they're not so familiar with contract language. So therefore, write it out in the contract that when you buy a field, you're also buying all the different types of palm trees and that's within the field. Says the Gemara, Amalei. Let's say you wrote in the contract, Ara v'dikla, I'm selling you a piece of land, vidikla and palm trees. Now, the fact that you wrote palm trees separate as part of the land, it must be that you had palm trees somewhere in another location. You're selling a piece of land, plus you're selling palm trees in another location to the purchaser. So chazinin, so we examine. If he has other palm trees that's not part of this field, yavle trade dikla, then he has to give him 2 palm trees along with the land that he's selling, because that's what he wrote in the contract. I'm selling you a piece of land plus an extra 2 trees. The E and plural, the minimum of a plural is 2. The lesle, if he has nothing else, he only had this piece of land with palm trees, zav and le trade dikle, then he has to buy an extra 2 palm trees and give it to him. Because that's what he wrote. I'm giving you a piece of land, plus I'm giving you an extra palm trees. The mishtab delay park lay trade dikle, if he pawned off, let's say, two palm trees for a loan for an outstanding debt, he has to redeem it, buy it back, and give it to the purchaser, because he promised that I'm selling you a piece of land plus an extra two palm trees. What if he said Ara bedikla, the land with its palm trees, chazinin? Then we look at the land. Is bedikla, if it has palm trees, yavle, then you have to give it. Vilav, but if he didn't, if this field that he's selling has no palm trees, then mekach toisu, that it's an invalid sale, because he said in the contract, I'm selling you a piece of land that has palm trees in it, and we look at the land, there is no palm trees, so therefore the whole sale is invalid. Ara dikla, but if he says a land that can grow palm trees, less le dikla, even though it doesn't have palm trees, the chazed dikla kamer, it's still good, a valid sale, because what he meant to say is that this piece of land can grow, has the potential to grow palm trees, so therefore it's still considered a valid sale. Amalei, if he said in the contract, Leva medikla planya, except for I'm selling you this piece of land, except this particular palm tree, chazinin. We say like this: if it's a very expensive palm tree and he excluded it from the sale, shir mishari, that's what he excluded from the sale, and the sale is valid for all the other palm trees, because he just wanted this expensive, unique palm tree not to be included in sale. But dikla bishahu, if it's an unremarkable tree, in fact, even a not good tree, palm tree, so why did he exclude this one? So he meant to exclude every palm tree. He said even the worst palm tree is not included in the sale. Kolshkeim hanach, anything that's better than that will not be included in the sale. So that's what he meant to say. Amalei, if he said, Levar mi iloni, I'm selling you a piece of land except from trees. Let's say I'm selling you trees. Now, tree can mean, let's say, an apple tree. Isle ilone. So if it has apple trees, levar mi ilone. So then that's not included in the sale, the apple trees. Isle dikle. If it has a palm tree, levar mi dikle, then the palm tree is not included from it. Isle gufne, if it has a vine, a grape tree, levar mi gufne. So the grape tree is not included in it. Now, so because when he said levar mi ilone, he probably meant the best thing that's in there. So if it's a grape tree, then it's not the grape tree. If the best thing in there is a palm tree, then it's the palm tree. If the best thing is there an apple tree, then the apple tree is not included. But when he said except from the tree, he meant I'm selling you the field except my best tree that's in the field. But let's say he has ilone v'gufne. He has 2 types of trees in the field. A regular, let's say an apple tree or a grape tree. Levar mi ilone, he meant to say exclude. Levar mi ilone, he meant to exclude the regular tree, the apple tree. Ilone bedikle, if he says a tree and the palm tree, levar mi ilone, he meant to exclude the elon tree. Gufne vedikle, if he said gufne vedikle, levar mi gufne, he meant to exclude the grape tree. So again, this is examining what was meant in a contract when you sell a field, what was meant in a contract when you're selling a field that has trees in it. Okay, we'll stop here, Basra Hashem.